There is something almost unnatural about stillness in today's world. We live in a time where being busy has become a badge of honor, where exhaustion is normalized, slowing down is questioned, and many women feel pressure to constantly prove their worth through how much they can carry, fix, achieve, or endure. As a result, somewhere along the way, many of us stopped truly listening to ourselves. We became so focused on reacting, overthinking, chasing signs, forcing answers, and making decisions from fear or urgency that we lost connection to the quiet wisdom within us. And yet, there is something deeply powerful about the sacred pause. The moment where you stop long enough to hear your own inner wisdom and inner voice again. The moment where the noise inside of you quiets, your mind softens, and your intuition finally has space to speak. Because intuition rarely shouts, it whispers. Welcome to And She Remembers, the podcast where women reconnect with their intuition, reclaim their power, and remember who they truly are. Today, I want to invite you into a sacred space, not just during the time you spend listening to this episode, but in the moments after too. A space where you give yourself permission to pause, to breathe, to reflect, and to truly listen to what your inner wisdom has been trying to tell you. Because even now, in this very moment, your intuition is speaking. The question is, are you allowing yourself to hear it? Now, before we go any deeper into this conversation, I really want to explain what the sacred pause actually is. To define the sacred pause simply, it is the moment between taking a breath and taking action. Another way to explain it is reconnecting to your body and intuition before saying another word, making another decision, or taking another step. Allowing yourself a moment to settle the whirlwind of emotions from a fear reaction, giving the dust time to settle so your mind can clear. Remember, giving yourself a moment is not avoidance. Anyone that pushes you to reply or respond now is not truly concerned about what is best for you. One of the best ways to manage the need for a pause is to simply say, just give me a moment and I'll get right back to you. Remember, anyone that does not respect your boundary or need for a moment is coming at you, not with you. Many women feel if they cannot give a reply or answer right away, it means they are not as smart, capable, or knowledgeable as those around them. Just because someone else wants an instant reply or decision does not mean you have to give it to them. When you pause, it gives you the chance to allow limiting beliefs to surface while also giving you the opportunity to really hear what your intuition is sharing with you. That internal voice of truth, of possibility, of endless opportunities. Pausing is not avoiding or standing still. The pause is listening. So many women believe that pausing means doing nothing, that if they stop moving for even a moment, they will fall behind, lose momentum, miss opportunities, disappoint people, or somehow fail. But the sacred pause is not about becoming stagnant. It is about becoming aware. A pause is the moment you stop reacting long enough to actually hear yourself beneath the noise, beneath everyone else's opinions, beneath fear, beneath pressure, beneath urgency. Because when we are constantly moving, constantly fixing, constantly searching for answers outside of ourselves, we often lose connection to our own inner wisdom. The sacred pause is not where life stops happening. It is where you finally become present enough to experience it. The pause is not asking you to stop your life. It is asking you to stop abandoning yourself while you live it. We often think clarity comes from doing more, thinking more, searching more, asking more people for advice. The sacred pause is the reminder that you do not need the next thing to achieve success, confidence, connection to spirit, or whatever dream you are manifesting and creating. Some of the clearest answers arrive in the moments where we become still enough to listen, not to the world, but to ourselves. So, why is it that women are so afraid to slow down and reconnect with their internal strength and voice? I truly believe it is because for generations, women have been disconnected from their own wisdom. So, the idea of allowing a sacred pause into our lives feels foreign and uncomfortable. Plus, we live in a world where schedules are jam packed. Honestly, it's one of the reasons I loved living in Portugal. People slowed down, they talked, they walked in parks as families, enjoying life. I remember reading an article years ago discussing the difference between life in Europe and North America. One of the biggest differences was how children in North America are often taught from a very young age to constantly be on the go. School, sports, dance, hockey, swimming, gymnastics, to name a few things. And meanwhile, parents are trying to coordinate every second of every day, managing their own activities as well as getting their children to theirs. Honestly, even just talking about it makes my head spin. Growing up, I remember bike rides, playground games, hide and seek, walking with friends. We were allowed to simply be children. Somewhere along the way, we stopped allowing ourselves to simply be human. Our nervous systems are begging us to slow down, but because they are constantly living in a heightened awareness and alertness, anxiety has started to feel normal. Now, the pause is what's feeling uncomfortable. The world narrative is so focused on pushing, achieving, proving, and performing that when many women no longer know how to enjoy what they already have in the moment. When working with my coaching clients, when they reach a goal, do something amazing, whether in their spiritual journey or in life in general, I often ask, how are you going to celebrate? So many of these beautiful women draw a blank because they didn't even think to honor themselves. They didn't stop to acknowledge the effort, growth, courage, or achievement. They simply moved on to the next thing. No wonder so many women feel like they are never enough or they're not doing enough. If we cannot even slow down long enough to honor the physical journey, how can we expect ourselves to connect to the unseen, felt, intuitive wisdom within us? Remember, the ego is very good at keeping us aligned to what feels known and predictable. Fear says, do something now. And intuition says, wait, feel, listen. Remember, the loudest voice in your mind is not always the wisest. If you are early in your intuitive journey, your intuition is often going to show up in a softer, quieter tone because it is not used to having the microphone. You are not always going to recognize it right away. One of the most important things we can learn on this journey is the difference between intuition, fear, urgency, and emotional reaction, because they can sound very similar inside of us. But energetically, emotionally, and spiritually, they are very different experiences. Fear is loud, urgency is demanding, emotional reaction is heated and impulsive. But intuition is steady. Intuition does not scream over the chaos, it waits beneath it. Let's talk about these a little bit more. And let's talk about fear first. Fear is usually connected to protection, survival, past wounds, or imagined outcomes. Fear tends to spiral and trap us in frozen uncertainty. It asks, what if this goes wrong? Oh my God, what if they leave? What if I fail? What if I regret this? Fear creates noise. It loops. It overanalyzes. It searches for certainty. And unlike intuition, fear pulls you away from yourself instead of deeper into yourself. For example, you may feel called to start something new, speak up, leave a relationship, or finally trust yourself. But fear immediately rushes in with reasons why that's not a good idea and why you shouldn't. Fear often sounds like, stay with the familiar, even if it hurts. Now, what about urgency? Urgency carries pressure. It feels like, decide now, respond immediately, fix this instantly, don't wait, and don't pause. Urgency pushes. Spiritually, urgency disconnects us from our intuition because it overrides our ability to actually feel what is true. Not every decision requires immediate action. Sometimes urgency is actually the nervous system searching for safety and control. For example, let's say you send a text and you don't get a reply right away. So suddenly you feel the need to double text, explain yourself, seek reassurance, panic, and create stories in your mind. That is not intuition. That is urgency fueled by emotion and fear. Intuition does not say, hurry before you lose everything. It generally says, slow down and let it be. How about emotional reaction? Emotional reaction happens when emotions take the steering wheel before you've had time to process them. This is when you will snap, shut down, over explain, people please, lash out, make impulsive decisions and choices, say yes when you mean no. Emotional reactions are human. They are not failures, but they are temporary emotional waves, not soul truth. This is why the sacred pause matters so much. Because when you pause, you end up creating a space between the feeling and the action. Inside that space, intuition finally has room to speak. I didn't fully understand the concept of emotional reaction until I had a heated conversation on the phone while I was at one of my corporate jobs one day. After the call, my coworker Cynthia called me over. She told me, you might have felt better about that conversation if instead of reacting, you responded. I looked at her with confusion and asked, what's the difference? She said, when you react, you usually aren't thinking clearly about what you are doing or saying. And afterward, you often wish you could go back and handle it differently. When you respond, you are calm. You keep emotions from controlling the situation and you act in a way you'll feel proud of later. I have carried that explanation with me ever since. Even now, I can look back at situations and recognize where I reacted instead of responded. There is always growth in that awareness because beneath emotional reactions, beneath urgency, beneath fear, there is another voice, one that does not push, panic, or pressure you, one that has been there the entire time, your intuition. Intuition feels calm, grounded, and clear, even when the message itself is uncomfortable or out of the ordinary. It may not always tell you what you want to hear, but it brings a quiet sense of knowing. Intuition does not argue with you for hours. It may repeat itself until it is acknowledged, but it does not spiral. It arrives softly, feeling a pull, a deeper inner nudge, a sense that something is either aligned or not. For example, maybe you meet someone new, and on paper, they seem perfect. Nothing looks wrong, but deep inside, something feels off. Your intuition may not have words for it immediately, and it may simply whisper, be careful here. Or perhaps an opportunity appears exciting, but your body feels heavy every time you think about saying yes. That heaviness is your intuition guiding you before your logical mind catches up. Intuition often feels like truth settling quietly into the body. Life often creates the sacred pause you are refusing to take. So, what are the signs and consequences of ignoring it? Being a woman, I know without a doubt you have experienced moments of pure exhaustion, not tiredness, exhaustion. There is a difference. Being tired is needing sleep or wanting rest. Exhaustion is when thinking about doing another task feels emotionally heavy. And yet, even in those moments, how many times have you pushed yourself anyway? Laundry is not a life or death emergency. Vacuuming is not a life or death emergency. Your soul is begging you to understand the difference between what is truly urgent and what can wait. Another sign you are avoiding the sacred pause is constantly second guessing yourself. Second guessing does not always mean you are disconnected from your intuition. More often, it means you moved before you truly listened. You made the decision, you said yes, you responded, you acted, but internally, something still feels unsettled. Not because your intuition failed you, but because deep down, you know you never gave yourself the space to fully hear your intuition in the first place. That lingering feeling inside of you is not weakness. It is your inner wisdom recognizing that it was overridden. That creates restlessness within the mind, body, and soul. It feels like trying to remember the final lyric to a song you know by heart. You know something is there, you can feel it, but you cannot fully reach it because you moved past the moment too quickly. The sacred pause creates space for clarity to arrive before regret, confusion, or self abandonment takes its place. Another common consequence of not taking a sacred pause is realizing you said yes to something you desperately wished you had said no to. Why do we do this? Because saying yes avoids confrontation, because you fear disappointing people, because you think saying no means you are incapable. Saying yes is easy. Living with an abandoned self awareness afterward is much harder. If you had given yourself even one moment to pause and reflect on what that yes actually required from you, you may have realized your peace mattered as well. The need for outside validation is powerful because many women were conditioned from a young age to seek it. But the truth is, the only validation you truly need is your own. Other signs you are being called into a sacred pause include emotional overwhelm, repeating patterns, confusion, irritability, burnout, feeling disconnected from your intuition, forcing outcomes, and resentment. So, how can you practice the sacred pause? How are you going to start giving yourself permission to pause? How long are these pauses? How often could you give them to yourself? Honestly, if these questions are deeply resonating with you right now, there is a very good chance your soul is already asking for a sacred pause. Why are you rushing yourself? That is one of the simplest yet most powerful questions you can ask in any moment. Usually it is because someone else is pushing for a reply, an answer, a decision, or access to your energy. One phrase I absolutely love is, your lack of planning is not my emergency. Because honestly, boundaries are deeply empowering. Boundaries are not selfish, no matter how many people try to convince women otherwise. I've seen so many stories online where women are accused of being selfish simply because they finally said no, asked for space, or chose themselves for once. Meanwhile, the person demanding the yes is rarely questioned. It really makes you stop and think, why is my saying no considered selfish, but someone else demanding my yes isn't? Remember, there are very few moments in life where you cannot take one breath before responding. The truth is, the woman who pauses before abandoning herself changes everything because the pause is where remembrance begins. So, here are some powerful questions to ask yourself during your sacred pause. What decision am I trying to force? What would happen if I simply waited? That question alone brings up so much fear of missing out for women. I cannot stress this enough. If something is truly aligned for you, the only thing that can block it long term is your belief that you are not meant to have it. If there is something meant to support you, guide you, or become part of your life experience, it will continue to try to find its way to you. Even if you say no after taking a sacred pause, it does not mean the opportunity disappears forever unless you believe it does. And honestly, if something is really exciting, but there is something within you that says no, it is truly because there is an even better opportunity around the corner if you simply trust your inner knowing. This has happened to me countless times, and it's such a blessing when I actually pause and say no and wait for that next amazing thing. Life is deeply connected to belief. Your beliefs shape your internal vibration, and that vibration either attracts or repels certain experiences, opportunities, and connections. This is why your beliefs are super important to be aware of. Two of my favorite questions to ask during a sacred pause are: what is fear trying to control? And what does my body actually feel here? I always know my intuition is trying to get my attention because I become incredibly aware of the area between my throat and heart. Not pain, not discomfort, just awareness. It's almost like my body is gently pulling my attention inward. If your mind is still racing during your sacred pause, stop completely for a moment. Stop walking, stop scrolling, stop trying to mentally solve everything, and take 3 intentional breaths. Not quick little breaths, deep breaths. Long inhales, long exhales. Allow your body to settle. Sometimes I will sleep on a decision. This one doesn't always work perfectly for me, but if there is something important I need clarity on, I will ask my higher self and the universe to support me through dreams, insight, or guidance while I rest. Because sometimes we forget that we are not meant to navigate life from logic alone. The universe holds wisdom far beyond what we can always immediately see. Place your hand on your heart and ask, what feels true here? Do not be afraid of the truth. The ego can be sneaky and controlling, but truth will always lead you toward freedom. I also love journaling. I used to carry a journal with me everywhere, and honestly, I still keep one in my car. Writing helps me sort through emotions, soul messages, fears, ego reactions, and intuitive guidance. Sometimes clarity arrives simply because you finally gave the energy somewhere to go. Another way is going for a walk without your phone. Phones are incredible tools, but they can also become constant distractions from ourselves. I love walking with music too, but there are moments where it becomes vital to put the phone away completely because it is no longer just a phone, it becomes constant stimulation, constant noise, constant distraction from ourselves. Sometimes we are not afraid of silence because nothing is there. We are afraid of silence because something real is there waiting to finally be heard. Remember, clarity comes after the internal noise settles. There is never anything wrong with giving yourself the sacred pause your soul is asking for. Now that you are fully aware of not only what a sacred pause is, but how to begin practicing it, what are the benefits of this space? One of the most powerful benefits of the sacred pause is self trust and confidence. Every time you pause, instead of reacting from fear, searching for outside validation, or abandoning yourself to keep others comfortable, you strengthen your relationship with yourself. You begin realizing, I can trust myself. The more you listen to your intuition and realize the world does not fall apart when you honor yourself, the more peace becomes something you crave. The sacred pause strengthens your intuition, deepens your connection to the universe, and eventually that connection begins feeling natural instead of forced. Your intuition starts feeling clearer, stronger, safer to follow. The sacred pause also creates emotional safety within you because once you start practicing this, you begin noticing the ways your own words have been working against you. My coaching clients know I pay very close attention to language because women often speak to themselves with incredible cruelty without even realizing it. Remember, your subconscious does not know the difference between reality and imagination. What you repeatedly say about yourself matters, even when you think you are just joking. I was speaking with a friend recently about how true safety has to begin within first, because if you do not feel safe with yourself, you will constantly search for safety outside of yourself. She asked me how someone even begins creating that inner safety. And honestly, one of the most powerful places to start is noticing how often you become angry with yourself, because anger is often a secondary emotion. A therapist once explained to me that underneath anger is usually disappointment, fear, hurt, shame, or sorrow. That completely changed the way I viewed emotional reactions. Getting angry with yourself removes compassion from your healing journey. And if you're always judging you, how much more are you feeding that fear of judgment from others? Feel safe within yourself first to ensure you create and expect safety from others. Remember, you are not perfect. You are never going to be perfect. You are going to go back to old habits. You are going to repeat lessons sometimes. You are going to grow through experiences that challenge you. But the more willing you are to grow, shift, become self aware, and choose differently without drowning yourself in shame or judgment, the more powerful your relationship with yourself becomes. The sacred pause reconnects women to themselves. It creates aligned decisions. It changes relationships because they stop becoming one sided. And sometimes it completely changes the direction of a woman's life. There's a saying that the only constant in life is change. Yes, change can feel scary, but staying disconnected from yourself is exhausting. If your life is not aligned with the way you truly want to live, then change becomes necessary. It will always be your choice whether you view change as fear, possibility. Your task for this week is to notice where you've been rushing yourself. Where are you pushing life instead of allowing it? Where are you abandoning yourself to keep the peace, avoid discomfort, or gain approval? Try one sacred pause method every day. It does not need to become one more overwhelming task on your list. Even taking 3 intentional breaths take less than a minute. And inside those few breaths, you can reconnect to the truth of who you are, not who fear told you to become, not who exhaustion shaped you into, but who you truly are beneath the noise. You do not need to always have an answer immediately. Very few decisions truly require instant action. It is completely safe to give yourself a space. Do not allow anyone to rob you of it, even yourself. If you take one thing from this episode, let it be this: the answer you've been searching for, the permission you've been seeking, the connection you have been missing is not hiding from you. It has simply been waiting in the pause. You are more powerful than you can even imagine in this moment, and you are absolutely allowed to feel that empowerment. Before we completely sign off, I want to guide you through a small sacred pause practice, one that not only reconnects you to stillness, but also to your intuition. So, if it is safe to do so, stop whatever it is you are doing for just a moment. Take a deep breath in, so deep you feel your shoulders rise with the breath. And as you slowly release it, gently close your eyes. Take another deep breath in and exhale. You can be sitting or standing, whatever feels most comfortable for you right now. Allow your palms to face upward in a relaxed and open position. Now take another deep breath in. As you exhale, allow your breathing to return to its natural rhythm. No forcing, no controlling. Just begin tuning into your intuition. If you cannot physically feel it yet, simply ask it to come forward and share this moment with you. Trust that your intention to connect is enough. You do not need to force intuition to arrive. You simply need to become present enough to hear it. Now place your hand over your heart. Take a deep breath in and settle into that beautiful physical connection with yourself. Let a soft smile touch your lips. Take another deep breath in. And as you exhale, allow gratitude to move gently between your heart, body, mind, and soul. Now ask your intuition the question you have been searching for guidance on, the question that brought you to this moment, here and now. And simply sit in the stillness. Allow your intuition to speak to you with calm, confidence, and knowing. Trust what comes through, even if it arrives quietly, even if it feels unfamiliar. Your intuition does not need to shout in order to be true. Allow yourself to feel supported. Allow yourself to feel connected. Allow yourself to feel safe. Allow the love, wisdom, and energy surrounding you to be fully received. Now, thank yourself for giving yourself this sacred pause. Take one final deep breath in, and as you exhale, when you are ready, gently open your eyes. It has truly been an honor to share this time and space with you, not only to speak about the importance of the sacred pause, but to help you reconnect with the wisdom that has always existed within you. Remember, the more you tune inward, the more energy you give to your intuitive path, the stronger your connection to yourself, the universe, and love becomes. Until next time, trust your intuition, listen to your inner voice, and remember who you truly are.